Hello everyone. So in this presentation, we will discussing about the financial indicators in civil engineering projects using a real-world infrastructure case as an example. So we will explore key financial indicators like net present value, internal rate of return, profitability index, and more. Before that, let me introduce ourselves. My name is Alya Nabila and this is my partner.
My name is Bonfilio Paska.
Okay, next slide. Okay, so cash flows is refers to the movement of money into and out of a project over time. In the most civil engineering project, the cash outflows occur upfront during construction for materials, labor, and equipment, while the cash inflows come later as the project starts to delivering benefits such as toll revenue, economic growth, and cost savings. The purpose is to evaluate the financial viability of a project. Next.
Next is the net present value. The net present value uh, definition of NPV is the present value of future cash inflows minus the initial investment. The function of NPV is to measure absolute monetary gain from the project. The pros from NPV is that it considers time, value of money, direct measure of profitability, and the cons is sensitive to discount rate. Next.
Okay, next we will talk about the internal rate of return or IRR. So IRR is defined as the discount rate at which the net present value of a project becomes zero. So in other words, it's like the break-even rate of return, the point where your investment neither losses nor gains value in present terms. So there are several advantages for using the IRR. First is easy to compare with required return or other investment. And second is it's provide a simple decision which if the IRR is greater than the discount rate, so uh, we can accept the project. However, IRR is also has its drawbacks, such as for the project with non-standard or fluctuating cash flows, it can produce multiple IRRs, which leads to confusion. And it also assumes that all intermediate cash flows are reinvested at the same IRR, which may not be realistic in practice. Next.
Next is economic internal rate of return or EIRR. EIRR is similar to regular IRR, but with a key difference, which is that it evaluates the project based on economic cost and benefits rather than just financial ones. This means it includes social, environmental, and broader community impacts, and not just profit. The main function is to assess the overall economic viability of a project, especially in public sector, such as infrastructure, education, and rural development projects. EIRR has several important advantages. It captures non-financial benefits such as reduced travel time, improved safety, or environmental gains. Uh, and there is the challenges. It often requires complex modeling to estimate intangible benefits like time savings, social equity, or pollution reduction. Uh, because of this, EIRR is less commonly used in private sector decision making, where financial return is the primary focus. Next,
So next we have the net benefit cost ratio or NBC. NBC is a ratio between the present value of benefits and the present value of costs. So essentially it tells us how much benefit we receive for every unit of cost that we invest. The formula is straightforward, like the NBC equal present value of benefits divided by present value of costs, and um, this metric is especially useful when we need to compare or rank multiple projects. A higher NBC means the greater efficiency and indicating that a project delivers more benefit per rupiah invested. However, there are some limitations that NBC doesn't tell us the total profit, unlike the NPV, which gives the actual monetary gain. And the second one is it can also be misleading if viewed in isolation, especially in a large project where a high NBC might hide and relatively small actual benefit. Next.
next is profitability index. Profitability index is a ratio that measures how much value a project generates per unit of investment. It's calculated by dividing the present value of all future inflows by the initial investment. Uh, PI is particularly helpful when comparing multiple projects, especially under limited budgets. A PI greater than 1 means the project is expected to deliver more value than it costs, making it a good investment. The advantages include ease of comparison between projects of different sizes, and like MPV, it accounts for the time value of money, which gives it a realistic perspective. But the cons of PI, it may overvalue smaller projects that offer high returns but low absolute profit, and it doesn't reflect the full scale or impact of a project. A high PI doesn't always mean it's the most impactful in total value. Uh, next.
Okay, so now let's discuss the modified internal rate of return, especially using the reinvestment rate of 9%, which we refer as IRR9. Unlike the regular IRR, which assumes that reinvested at the same rate as the IRR itself, so IRR9 used as a fixed investment rate of 9%. This adjustment makes the return estimate more realistic and conservative, especially for a long-term infrastructure or a public projects. So this formula used is the MIRR equals the net root of the future value of inflows and divided by the present value of outflows minus 1. There are some clear advantages. So the IRR9, it solves the problem of multiple IRRs, which often occurs when with non-conventional cash flows, and it provides a more grounded expectation of return, and particularly when the actual reinvestment rates are lower than the IRR. But on the downside, it's a bit more complex to calculate compared with the regular IRR, and the results it depends heavily on the reinvestment rate we assume in this case is 9%. So overall the IRR9 is gives you a more conservative and reliable indicator of a project's true economic return. Next.
Next is the example of project overview. Uh, for this project, the name of the project is Rural Bridge Construction. This project aims to enhance regional accessibility and stimulate the local economy, especially in underserved rural areas where connectivity is a major barrier growth. The bridge itself will be 100 meters long and 6 meters wide. It is designed to accommodate both vehicles and pedestrians. The total project duration is 5 years, covering the full life cycle from construction to economic impact realization. The initial investment is 5 billion rupiah, which is fully spent in year zero during the construction phase. Starting from year one, the project begins to generate economic inflows projected as 1.5 billion rupiah in year one, 1.7 billion in year two, 2 billion in year three, and 2.2 billion in year four, and 2.3 billion in year five. These inflows represent indirect economic benefits such as increased trade, transportation efficiency, reduced travel time, and improved mobility for rural residents. Next.
Okay, so for now, let me explain how we have the key financial result of each for the rural bridge construction project. We begin from the net present value or NPV. So to calculate NPV, we discount all the future inflows back to present value using a 10% discount rate, and then we subtract the initial investment of 5 billion. So subtracting the initial cost, the NPV comes out to 2.2 billion, which confirms that the project is profitable in today's term. Next, for the IRR rate that makes the NPV exactly zero. So we use the Excel or financial software. We plug the cash flows from year 0 until year 5. Then the resulting IRR is 24.70%, which is significantly higher than the 10% discount rate and a strong indicator of high return on investment. Next is for the EIRR or Economic Internal Rate of Return. It's also 24.70 percent in this case, since we assume that the economic benefits match the financial ones. Uh, Moving on to the net benefit cost ratio on or NBC. So this is calculated by dividing the present value of benefits about 7.2 billion by the project cost of 5 billion. So the result is 1.44, meaning that every rupiah invested yields is at 1.7 1.44 in return. We also calculate the profitability index or PI using the same values or present value of inflows divided by initial investment. This also gives us 1.44, reinforcing the project's financial efficiency. And lastly, we took the modified internal rate of return or IRR9. So we assume that the intern cash flows are reinvested at a fixed rate 9%. We compounded all inflows to their future values, then calculate the return over 5-year period. The resulting IRR9 is 17.38%, 91%, which is more conservative but still very favorable return. Next.
Next is the pros and cons. Uh, for the rural bridge construction project, advantages. First is the project shows a high internal rate of return and net present value, or IRR and NPV, indicating both strong profitability and positive value creation. Second, from an economic standpoint, it provides strong justification for public investment, especially in rural development. Third, the cash flow structure allows for early recovery of investment with significant inflow starting from year one, which is a good sign for both public and private stakeholders. However, the challenges that this project has is that the project requires a large upfront cost of 5 billion rupiah, which may be difficult for smaller local governments or communities to finance without external support. There is also a risk of delays or cost overruns, especially in infrastructure projects where weather, logistics, and or land acquisition may become issues. And finally, the current financial model does not include long-term maintenance costs, which could affect the project's sustainability if not properly planned. Next.
Okay, so in conclusion, the rural bridge construction project is clearly financially feasible. The net present value is positive, the internal rate of return exceeds the discount rate, and confirm that the project is profitability. What's more is the results are consistent across all financial metrics, including the NPV, IRR, EIRR, NPC, PI, and IRR rate, all pointing to the same outcome, which is a solid and efficient investment. The third is beyond the financial, this project brings significant economic and social values. It enhances the connectivity, supports local economic development, and improves quality of life for rural communities. I think that's all from us. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.